Hello everybody, welcome back to Arthenex Plays Europa Universalis 4 as Byzantium. So, this is going to be a little bit of an unusual episode. The audio for my original recording of this episode has been corrupted somehow, and unfortunately there's no way to restore it. So, I'm going to have to basically record a new commentary track for this episode while watching it instead of playing it. I apologize, this is obviously not ideal, but this is basically the only option I have since I don't have another copy of the original audio recording. As far as I can tell, it was never successfully correctly recorded. So, as far as I know, this is the only video in this series that this happened to, so we should be right back to normal with live commentary for the preceding episodes in this series. But for this episode, I'll just have to do the best I can to remember what I was thinking as I was playing this particular episode. So, sorry about that. These things happen. I hope you'll bear with me. I figured that this was still a better solution to re-record audio for this episode rather than simply skip it, because I know you guys are going to want to see what happens. So, as you can see, the first thing that I did was go and add all the provinces to my trade company in South Africa. I thought about that for a while, but I eventually decided that the extra trade power was definitely going to be worth it. So, we just got a call to arms from Austria, which is dragging us into another war with France. I wasn't super happy about that, as I recall. But we did, having just finished our most recent war with Kara, we were in a pretty good position to deal with that. So, moving my troops back into my home territory, obviously. I'm re-sending my trade fleets to Constantinople to protect trade. Oh no, to Alexandria, I'm sorry. I realized by this point there was no point in protecting trade in Constantinople because I already owned all of it. My main fleet is going to get sent to there. I believe I'm going to be ferrying some troops over to Italy to move up to engage the French forces and possibly siege some Italian provinces, if I remember correctly. Yes, okay, so... oh, alright, so... I'm looking for a way to attack Milan. This is actually pretty interesting, what winds up happening here. So I'm in the same war with Austria, so I can't declare war on Milan directly. And I can't declare war on the Papal States because Milan is the emperor, and the Papal State is a member of the empire. And if I declare war on the Papal State, then Milan will get called in as a co-belligerent, and they'll be able to call in their allies, and their ally was Spain. So now I'm considering, so here I'm looking at the Papal State. Now Austria is not going to get called in. They're the defender of the faith, but because I'm fighting in another war with Austria at the same time, Austria wouldn't get called in because we can't be in a war with them and against them at the same time. So I can declare war without worrying about Austria. However, I can't declare war. Oh, let's see. Oh no, the Papal State is not a member of the Empire, so I can declare war on them without getting involved in a war with Spain because they're not a member of the Empire. But I can't declare war on Siena because Siena is part of the Empire. So Milan will defend them, and they'll get to call in their allies. And what I'm trying to avoid here is getting into a war with Spain. So I'm kind of searching for a way to expand my territory in Italy without getting involved in a war with Spain. So what I think I'm actually and eventually going to do is declare war on the Papal State because they're not a member of the Empire. Yeah. Later on, this is a little spoiler warning, I'm going to pull out some pretty nifty diplomatic maneuvers to get involved in a war with Milan separately. But I think that's not for a couple more episodes. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. That's pretty cool, though, when I managed to pull that off. That's pretty cool. But as for what's going on right now, I'm also... Right, so since we had just split off Moldavia from Poland, I'm trying to get them to vassalize me because I'm currently at peace. Having just made peace with Kara. Oh no, I didn't. I'm not at peace. I accepted that call to arms. So I'm not going to be able to get Moldavia, start annexing Moldavia now anyway because they're going to be in this war. So checking disputed successions. I'm pretty sure I am eventually going to declare war on the Papal State. Oh, that's the end of the 30 Years' War. Which it was an interesting 30 Years' War. Since Milan was the emperor, Austria was actually not involved in it at all. And the Protestant and the Catholic forces were pretty evenly matched. So... yeah, this is this episode is just continuing an ongoing trend in this playthrough of Austria crushing France, which is a little bit unusual. Normally it's the other way around, but France was never really able to... What Spain is unusually strong in this game. Spain is usually not as strong as they are now, and that Austria-Spanish alliance, just, you know, France was just not able to do it. They got a little bit behind in the early wars, and France is just not able to catch up. And this is going to be another example. Austria is pretty much going to clean their clocks again. So... let's see. I kind of unthinkingly accept that royal marriage offer from Hungary. Although, you know, looking back on it, it might not have been the best idea. Milan enters a military coalition against us. Well, we're not going to attack them directly no matter what anyway, so that's not super relevant. Yes, my finances continue to be a bother. I really need to get this this trade situation organized. I've got pretty much all of South Africa, which is a good start, but South Africa by itself is not much of a moneymaker. You need Zanzibar as well. And then you can start working on the Malacca trade node. Malacca to Zanzibar to Cape of Good Hope. That's the best way to make money with 3 trade nodes, I think, in the game. And the greatest part about that particular combination is that it doesn't really matter what country you're playing as. As long as you have the ability to colonize, you can pretty much always... If you're a... Alright, I take that back. It does matter somewhat. If you're a Western power that has the ability to colonialize and make trade companies, you can pretty much always do that, as long as... you can kick Portugal out of South Africa and Zanzibar. You can just pretty much always make a ton of money. That Malacca to Zanzibar to South Africa trade route is just it's a literal and veritable gold mine in the game. So let's see. At this point, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my army. Let's see. I've got some nationalists in Kharkov. I believe that's up in Lithuania, if my memory serves me correctly. I just took over a bunch of land from Kara, so I know I'm going to have to deal with some rebels there. And I'm trying to figure out Yeah, so I am going to send some troops over to Italy. So it looks like, yeah, I'm pretty sure at some point I'm going to declare war on the Papal State. So it looks like I'm just moving my troops into position to do that, and I'm trying to figure out which armies to send where. Yeah, so I have military access through Austria, so my armies can walk most of the way there. This is kind of interesting because, of course, by taking the Papal State, if I do, I will I'll be able to walk through Austria to my territories in Italy, which is an advantage, but I'll have a direct border with Austria, which is kind of a disadvantage because you get double the relations penalty. Neighboring tolerated heretics is a -20, whereas just tolerated heretics is a -10. This alliance with Russia is hugely beneficial for me, especially considering that, you know, I actually want to take land from Poland and Lithuania. Allying with Russia is definite, especially since I got a lot of the territory from the countries in between us that I was interested in. Took them so long to form Russia in this game. They really struggled with Novgorod early on, so I was able to take not only the Crimean land, but a lot of the Golden Horde land as well. Russia did get that one key center of trade province, Astrakhan or whatever it is, but I pretty much got all the other valuable land from the Golden Horde, which worked out really nicely for me. Alright, so... Oh, that's right, because Moldova is obviously not in this war, so even though we're at war, we can vassalize them. We just couldn't annex them. Okay. Kiev has broken away from Poland for the moment. Siena just got annexed by Tuscany. I'm trying to figure out how that affects my plans, and it really doesn't change anything. Tuscany has fewer allies than Siena did, but they're still part of the empire, so I still have to deal with Milan and their ally of Spain, which I don't want to do at this point. So I'm cheering for those Armenian nationalists, but you can imagine how that's going to work out for them. I will say that the second, this part of the game, and certainly in this episode, missions are just not really relevant. I keep checking them periodically just to check and see what's going on with them, but I certainly don't. Yeah, there's just good missions that actually help me are few and far between at this stage in the game. Alright, so now that I've vassalized Moldova, I'm trying to figure out which vassal I'm going to annex next. I'm definitely going to go for one of those Georgian ones, preferably both of them. I already have claims on all of those provinces. I'm trying to figure out, I'm an idle diplomat, so trying to figure out which province to claim. Yeah, still no good missions. It's funny that I keep checking that. Alright, so yeah, I'm kind of setting up Italy first, and then I think I'm going to go back and try and get the Holy Land from Syria and Kara. I don't think I can get it all in one war, but I can get a good chunk of it. So that's kind of my next plan after Italy. Yeah, I'm looking at that province because it belongs to Yemen, and I'm trying to figure out how I can possibly get it from them. And the answer is with great difficulty, because Yemen is all the way down in the southern part of the Arabian Peninsula. Still working on colonizing. Yeah, I've got... Oh, so France's colonial nation is invading my colonial nation because we're at war. That continues to be an issue. My colonial nations are oh, I don't have a colonial nation yet. Oh, no, I do. I think. Maybe I don't. I can't remember. I might not yet. Well, in either case, that is an issue because France's colonial nation is quite powerful, and I don't have a lot of territory in the New World. But there's not really anything France is actually going to be able to do permanently down there. But they can sink my ships and kill my troops and generally annoy me. But they can't actually take that land since they're going to, they're getting crushed by Austria back at home. So I'm just about ready to start colonizing. What is that island again? Well, it's the territory is Pallenberg, I believe. Just about ready to start colonizing that. Yeah, I'm not taking any more inflation for Diplo power. I'll take it for the admin power, but not for the Diplo power. It's just not worth it. Alright, I've got one army in position. The one that I walked there. The one that I'm ferrying there just needs to be ferried over. I actually have a fair number of transports now, so that's only going to take me a couple of trips. I'm thinking about my overextension here, and I'm wondering if I can really afford to take this Papal State land before I finish coring my my new territory in Syria and the Middle East. Yeah, that was just a little bit too expensive for me to do right there. Sorry, guys. Minus 25% goods produced in one province is pretty meaningless, actually. Oh, it's actually going to take me 3 trips to ferry this army over here. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, why didn't I send the bigger army to walk and the smaller army to get ferried? Yeah. Yeah, so I don't have a colonial nation yet. I will when Trinidad finishes, but I don't yet. Austria continues to crush France. Still no available missions. That looming disaster will go away as soon as my current cores finish. You can invest in admin technology, and I'm considering it, and I do it. I think, yeah, I should do it because I'll have plenty of time to get admin points for the new cores before the war ends. Alright, so we're going to move our troops up the Italian peninsula to prepare to attack the Papal State. We got one army sitting over there in Lithuania suffering attrition, which I realize is probably not a good idea. So I start looking for a province that has a good supply limit for them. But I'm also kind of trying to figure out where they should stand so they won't get a crossing penalty if they have to go back in after the revolt fires, which is currently at 90%. I think I eventually say suck it up and have them stand in a province with a good force limit. Maybe not. Azov and Crimea are the 2 provinces up there that have good supply limits. 4 to 49% there. We're making $4. Not a tremendous amount, but not terrible. Not terrible. Portugal continues to be a thorn in our side on the trade front. It's just amazing how much power they can get in that trade node without actually owning any provinces in it and sending any ships there. They have nothing. All they have is transfers from traders downstream, and they still have like friggin' ton of trade power there. So the Papal State declares war on Tuscany, which is interesting. It's going to blunt the Papal State's army a little bit, although just a little bit. And I think it means I have to get military access from Tuscany when I declare war on them. Alright, so Trinidad became self-sustaining, but because I'm at war and because I no longer control Dominica, I don't actually get a... yeah, so I'm going to set a colonist here completely undefended in wartime. This is kind of against another player, human player, I would never do that because they can just land a troop there and seize the colony. But I don't believe the AI seizes colonies like that. So I'm just doing it. I'm also kind of hoping that France doesn't have that territory explored, so they might not be able to see it. But yeah, so the Papal State declared war on Milan, on Tuscany, which means since they're not part of the empire, Milan moved in to defend them. And Milan has a rather powerful army at the moment, as you can see. They're trying to convert that to Catholic from Reformed. Most of northern Italy went Reformed because there's a Reformed center of Reformation in Firenze. Yes, Brittany, Bavaria, Trier, and Saxony. The incorporation of Anconia, which is my province. Yeah, sorry, Papal State, you're not going to get to do that. Alright, I need a diplomat back, so let's call my one back from Austria. Move my army into Anconia. And go deal with those rebels. Of course, that's what I was going to say. No. And declare war. Cleansing of heresy, CB. Austria's not going to get called in. Bavaria is not going to honor the call, so it's going to be Savoy, Trier, and Brittany, although I don't see them from that screen, but they're in this war too. So nobody major. Just a bunch of minor powers. So we will go ahead and siege the Papal States lands to start with. And then I have to figure out how to get all of their allies out of this war, but that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. First things first, we got to siege the Papal States lands. Move my fleet up there to blockade their province. Kill the Venetian peasants, because why not? And let's see. Yeah, so my fleets arrived to blockade. Yeah, still no worthwhile missions. At this point I noticed that the Armenian Patriots, having successfully sieged and moved out of Kara's territory, have now moved up into my vassal's territory, which is considerably annoying considering that that's a mountain province. But I still outnumber them 2-1, so I send my rebel-crushing army that I've held in reserve back in my main part of my territory to go kill them. That army has been suffering attrition this whole time, which is rather foolish of me. But so I decide not to leave my army in 216 stats because I'm a little bit worried about their allies' armies showing up and attacking me. With good reason, as you can see. There's a... let's see, that's a Trier army, I believe. That 11k stack moving through Austria towards my territory, into Savoy. Savoy is also in another war at the moment. Well, they're in I believe they're in the Papal States War against Milan and against Tuscany and Milan. And there's no way the Papal State would have won that war, even if I had not jumped in. But my jumping in certainly didn't help them any. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out maybe my trade ships would do. Oh, no, I'm thinking about building more trade buildings. But Portugal already built up all of the trade buildings in Cape Town for me, which is nice. So those are the rebels those are the Armenian Patriots in Georgia that I just defeated. So but not before they captured that province. Those Lithuanian rebels are sitting at 90% still. They've been sitting at 90%, almost a lot of this episode, but they're in no hurry to actually revolt. So we're going to fabricate another claim on Kara, because we're going to be at war with them relatively soon anyway. And we're going to keep improving relations with our vassals so we can annex them. Yes, we're currently annexing Georgia, and we got to get Imerti relation up enough that we can vassalize them once we're done. So our advisor died. We're checking our advisors just to make sure there's not a better one, and there is not. So we're continuing to wait for our sieges to finish. We've got... Let's see. So we've got 11k troops moving in to attack that army. That's not as foolish as it sounds, because that army doesn't currently have a leader. So I move my 20, but I can move my 24 stack down that does have a leader, and crush that army. And there's some reinforcements moving down from Brittany, but they're not going to get there in time. Instead, they're going to go to Treviso and start sieging it, which is annoying because Treviso is a mountain province. So I'm going to go try and drive them off. Mantua enters a military alliance with Savoy, but Savoy is not the war leader. The war leader is the Papal State. So I attack Brittany, and even though it's a mountain province, my significant numerical advantage is enough to win the day there. So we defeat Brittany as my Caribbean islands continue to get sieged and taken one after the other. But it's just, you know, the war score that you get from the New World colonies is just so insignificant that it's not going to help France in the end. But of course, Austria is not going to peace out with France until they're thoroughly defeated. Alright, so we took one of the Papal States provinces. And we're still waiting. Still waiting to finish sieging the other one, which is also coincidentally where their navy is. And we're still trying to siege our vassal's province back from the rebels. Those rebels in Lithuania still haven't fired. It's been like another 6 months. Okay, so there's the Armenian province re-sieged. So we send our army back up there. It was nice of those rebels to wait for that siege to finish. As you can see, they're still at 90%. The Syrians, at this point I decide they've been at 90% for so long, the Syrians are actually probably going to fire first. So I send my army down to Syria to deal with them. 10% infantry combat ability. I'm not actually sure, even now, how good that is. And I know it's in the quality idea group. I mean, in theory, it should mean that your infantry fight like there's 10% more of them, I would think, which is good because you can squeeze more power of infantry into the same combat width. So in theory, that would seem like a really good modifier, but it doesn't seem all that effective anecdotally. So I don't really know. I don't really know how good that modifier is. Okay. So we finished coring all of our Syrian, or not all of our Syrian provinces that we took from Kara, but a bunch of them. So now we can convert them. Again, showing the power of the religious idea group. That, I mean, for pretty much any Orthodox or Coptic country, religious is just such a no-brainer. It's so good. There's so many enemies that you can use the Cleansing of Heresy or the Holy War CB against. That CB is like one of the best CBs in the games. You get to take all of their land for no Diplo point cost. All you need is a border with them to declare war on them. And then on top of that, you get the missionary strength so you can convert all their provinces. It's just really good. It is a little bit, not entirely, but a little bit mutually exclusive with Humanism, which is another one of my favorite admin idea groups, because they don't provide a synergistic policy bonus, and they're kind of opposites in a lot of ways. They're kind of for two different play styles. So in a game where you are a Catholic surrounded by other Catholics, or a Sunni surrounded by other Sunni, you probably wouldn't take religion. You go the humanism route instead. But in a game like this, where I'm surrounded by other religions, humanism is just amazing. Or religion, sorry, it's just amazing. It's really good. All right, so now I'm marching through Austria to Savoy. I've decided, and before I can annex the Papal State, I need to get Savoy out of the war. I don't want to wait the 5 years, so I'm going to start by sieging Vaud, and I'm going to hope I don't have to siege all their lands in order to get them out of the war. So at this point, I'm kind of like, when are you going to peace out here, Austria? But and I'm also wondering how much of Savoy's territory I'm going to actually have to take to get them to peace out. I've decided not to suffer attrition with my whole army and to leave a significant force back in Italy to protect those provinces. And those rebels fired. A 24 stack is a lot of rebels, but not as many as I have. So we reject the peace deal. Still no good missions. Yep, those guys are still at 90%. They're certainly not in any rush. So we have no problem dealing with that. Rebel stack. 124 stack is certainly not as bad, not that bad considering how many provinces had revolt risk. Of course, I'm not sure. Once you start converting them, they might switch to Sunni zealots, which would prevent them from revolting in that revolt. I'm not entirely sure how that works. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm just kind of looking at Venice's cores. Oh, this event. I obviously don't take plus 25% attrition in the Zillion provinces. I just suffer this ability hit, which sucks. It's amazing how much stability, how many admin points you lose to events in this game. You lose way more admin points than you lose Diplo or military points to events. It's one of the reasons why admin ideas are comparatively more expensive. Throw in the fact that you spend all this admin power coring provinces, and it's no wonder that most people keep their national focus locked on admin for most of the game. Those points are just so valuable. So I lose my claim on Moldova, which is fine. I don't need claims on Moldova now. They're my vassal. This is a pretty elegant way to go about it. I can't move into my lawn there to attack that army, which is why I'm sitting with my main army in Vaud, just staring at them while I siege the province. I will eventually have to go up and fight Trier if I want to get them out of this war. Yes, and now France has landed in South Africa. They're trying to compensate for the fact that most of France is now in Austrian hands by attacking me on the peripheries, and I'm going to continue to ignore them because, again, it's not like Austria is actually going to give them any of my territory because Austria is crushing in the war. I would prefer not to lose that army I have in South Africa, though. But they're safely on the other side of South Africa, so France is going to siege every single province. So I'm just hoping the war ends before they siege all of my South African provinces. Considering how many South African provinces I have, I should be on pretty safe ground. Alright, Brittany's sieging Treviso again, so I got to go clear them out. Again, huge numerical advantage. But, uh-oh, what's this? Trier, a 19k Trier stack is sneaking in there. And they are going to reinforce. And now I'm 29 to 23 in the mountains, which is not good, obviously. And they have a slightly better general. And so I decide not to take that fight, and I retreat to Venice. Because I know I'm going to lose it. So it's like, oh, they left. Oh, can I attack? No. No. So I'm just going to stand in Venice, let my morale recover, and let their army get a little bit further away. So Savoy took one of Milan's, or is occupying one of Milan's provinces. We lost another Caribbean province. We finished coring Antioch. We just have Aleppo left to core now. But I can't convert it because all my missionaries are busy. So I decide their army is far enough away and is busy crushing a Venetian army. Now is the time to strike at this Brittany army. So I attack it. Trier immediately starts sending their army back, but they're too late. I stack wipe the Brittany army before they can make it there. So now I'm going to go up and deal with them, hopefully in a province where I don't attack into the mountains. But yeah, so who's going to get there first? I'm getting there on the 3rd. I decide not to take that engagement. They move away. I move in. Kind of shadowboxing with this army now. I want to fight them in a favorable situation. And they're kind of heading west. I'm not sure where they're going. So I decide I need to get Trier out of this war too, so I'm going to send that army up there to besiege their capital and hope that I can get them out of the war just by taking their capital. But they're about to encounter that enemy army in Bresegau, which is a hills province. Now you see my technology disadvantage really coming into play. Their army has a full point of morale better. They have a slight tactics advantage on me. They have a slight discipline advantage on me. Even though my general is better, I'm taking a crossing penalty, and actually our generals are pretty even. So I actually lose this battle, despite having about a 10,000 man advantage on them, until Venice shows up with 10,000 more men to stiffen my ranks. They really bailed me out there, actually. Venice has not been that helpful up to this point as a vassal, but they really saved my bacon there. So now I'm able to go up there and continue to attack that army. And I decide they're heading for Trier, even though they don't go there by the direct route, and it winds up that they're heading for Cologne. And I decide, I think, not to pursue them up there. So Bavaria pieces out. The first domino, as they say, in that French war. And Vaud still hasn't fallen. It seems like I've been besieging it forever at this point. Okay, lose another South African province to France. So you can see where my South African army is. It should be safe. It's defending my colony up there. And I'm hoping that the war ends before France marches all the way up there. But it seems like it probably will. So we finished Aleppo. We don't have to worry about overextension now when this war ends. We were sieging a Savoyan province as well as a Trurian province, and Milan is now occupying Savoy's capital, which means I should be able to get them out of this war pretty quickly. Alright, so we finished a conversion. Let's put our missionaries right back to use. Again, religious idea group. Awesome. Yeah, so that's why the siege is taking so long. Each siege is 53 days. Savoy has a defensive national idea. They are fully defensive. Yeah, it's really a pain to try and siege down their provinces. But we're going to do it. So those are the Turkish, basically the Turkish provinces. But since I just converted them, yeah, you can see that significantly cuts into the revolt risk. But we are getting a little bit unlucky here, so now we're going to have to wait another 2 months for the next siege tick because we didn't get the 50%. I mean, it's only 50%, it's still just a coin flip, but it does seem a little bit unlucky that we didn't get it. Venice destroyed another Brittany army, but they're running away from Trier's reconstituted army. Okay, we lost another province to France. We lost another province to the French colonial nation. Yeah, and I obviously go for the Patriarch Authority here. We're up to 65%. Another more missionary strength, less unrest, more manpower. Our income is hurting a little bit, but hopefully we're working on trade in order to sort that out. And I think we lost another siege tick, so now we're up to 70%, taking forever to fall. Milan certainly has a lot of troops in there, don't they? That's definitely going to be a concern when we want to try and take Tuscany. Fortunately, we don't have to deal with them now. Alright, we finally won both of those sieges. So, now we're going to see if we can peace out Savoy. And we can. We're going to try and take some of their money. And that's all we can really take. So, we finish piecing out Savoy. And then as soon as our diplomat gets back, we'll try and piece out the Papal State. Now, here's kind of where I make a mistake. I don't realize that army got black flagged from standing in Savoy when I ended the war with Savoy. So I send them up there expecting them to siege false, but of course since they're black flagged they don't. And then I'm going to piece out Savoy. Or Trier, sorry, I'm going to try and piece out Trier, but they're not ready to piece out yet. I need to take another province from them probably before they can piece out. So I decide at this point to send that army after Brittany, since I figure my other army can handle that. Again, still not realizing that they're black flagged. So I won't realize that until I think they get all the way over there and I realize, uh-oh, I can't siege any provinces with these guys. What's going on? Alright, so I obviously take the prestige hit here. I don't like taking prestige hit, but I already suffered through one poor legitimacy ruler is enough per game, I think. The game might disagree with you on that one, but I'm certainly not interested in suffering more than one of those. So now I'm realizing they're black flagged. So I'm like, where can I go? So the nearest friendly territory province is that one. So I start sending them there, and then I start wondering, in just a second here, do friendly controlled provinces remove black flag? So I decide you can see they're still marching. I decide instead of sending them all there, let's try and send them up there and see if that unblack flags them. I wasn't actually sure at the time if it would. I thought you might have to send them back to, because I can't go to Venice's territory because there's an army standing in it. I mean, I guess I could. I'm not sure what would happen there. Would they get unblack flagged, and then would they be the defenders or the attackers? Seems like they should be the attackers, but the way the game mechanics work, they might actually wind up being the defenders, which would be a pretty good trick for moving your troops into engage enemy forces in a mountain province that borders a territory of a country that you have military access through while you're fighting in another war. That was kind of complicated. It's not that hard to get your troops black flagged, though, if you want them black flagged. All you have to do is get military access, march them in there, and then cancel the military access. So at this point I have the call for peace, which is kind of BS because I can't annex the Papal State yet. Still only at 13% war score. So I have to get all these other countries out of the war. However, there is one good thing, and that is that every time you separate peace with one of your enemies, it resets your call for peace modifier to 0. So despite the fact that I'm going to wind up having call for peace for a really long time in this war, I'm actually not going to get that much war exhaustion from it because I'm going to separate peace out all 3 of these countries one after another, and every time I do that, it's going to give me it's going to reset the call for peace modifier back to 0. So we lost another South African province. At this point I'm starting to get a little bit worried. I'm like, Austria, are you really? How much of France do you have to siege? On the other hand, it's kind of beneficial that I'm still at war with France because I can march my troops through their territory to get to Brittany. If I wasn't at war with France, I'd have to get military access. Now, France actually kind of likes me in this game, despite the fact that I'm allied with Austria and we're at war all the time. We still have the same dynasty on our ruler, so they still kind of like me. So, I mean, there's really no point in checking that war score value. Either it will go to 100 and I'll peace them out, or I have to peace out all of their allies before they'll accept annexation. And I'm certainly not going to accept anything less than annexation after all the trouble I've gone through in this war. So I'm sieging Brittany's capital. I'm sieging another province from Trier. Yes, can't peace out yet. The Mamluks are back at war. I decided to buy down my war exhaustion here because I have, for 2 reasons. Because I have call for peace, even though it's not giving me that much war exhaustion, it's still giving me some, and because I have the spare diplo points, basically. And yeah, so looks like I'm going to bring this episode to an end here pretty soon. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off now because I'm not sure when this episode is going to end. So thanks for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. And I hope that you all have out there a terrific day.